Recently I put out a video on my thoughts on Dead Reckoning, the entire system, everything up until now. And since then, the new Port of Call campaign has dropped. I've had a chance to look through the rulebook and I have some thoughts. In this video, I'm going to break down what all the gameplay actually means to the core experience that you might or might not already have, and really answer the question for myself, am I gonna actually back this thing? Is it worth the 45 bucks? And even more importantly, am I going to get that chest? Let's get into it. First and foremost, if you'd like my thoughts on the entire system up until now, that includes base game, the 3 sagas, Letters to Mark, Sea Dogs, all of that stuff, go check that video out. It is in the description. So one of the things that kind of stood out to me in looking at the campaign is it wasn't really clear on how all of Port of Call new stuff actually interacts with the game. You don't really get great views of what all of the cards are that are replacing the current core crew cards. You don't really get to see the boats. You don't really have an understanding of how all of this works and how it affects your core gameplay experience. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look through this rulebook and really figure it out for you right now. What is Port of Call? It's more content and giving you some variety. It doesn't look to be completely game changing, but that's where we're going to answer. You get new sailor cards. All of those sailor cards have different abilities than they had before. They replaced the base sailor cards. You get new advancement cards, new encounter cards, new ocean boards, new ship boards, some new ship upgrade tiles, some new achievement tokens, and most importantly, the exploding cannon cubes, which look to be a little bit fun. Let's go through each one of these and break them down just a little bit. We're going to go with the low-hanging fruit out of the gates. Encounter cards, more encounter cards. You're going to see them every once in a while, not particularly impactful in the game. They come by the way of merchant ships. Merchant ships you can either trade with or battle with. You get different rewards depending on which one of those you choose. Overall, I guess it's nice to have more of those per se, but if you have all the different sagas and all the other content, there's quite a few already in those advancement decks. So I wouldn't say that that's game changing at all. Advancement cards are fun. I will say I have a ton of advancement cards now, so without being able to see all the different advancements, which I don't think we have visibility to at this point, I can't really give a judgment on how game-changing they are. Regardless, they're going to go into a pretty big deck and you're going to see them only every once in a while, so not particularly game-changing. Nice to have, certainly. Some other things, 9 achievement tokens. Those achievement tokens add alternate achievements that will essentially dictate the end game, also give you some points. There's some pretty interesting ones in there. For example, full sails. In one turn, move your ship from the 4th row tile to the harbor, back to the 4th row. I guess you could be positioning yourself to get a lot of those sail symbols to be able to have that much movement to do so. Seems kind of strategically fun to try to do. Advanced crew at the end of your turn have 12 or more advancements on the cards in your hand. Kind of a crapshoot, doesn't really change the way I play. Treasurer have at least 10 coins on your ship and or island you control. These cannot come from your treasure chest. It's a fairly interesting little mini game you're trying to do to get that achievement. Outpost builder, own 3 or more outposts. If you have 3 or more outposts at the same time on an island you control, immediately place an achievement marker here. Pioneering now give you a goal on total control cubes on islands instead of just the permanent ones that's already there. I mean, it goes on. There's 9 of these. They are all fairly interesting, give you a little bit of a different type of goal. Are they game changing? Absolutely not. If you want a little more variety on your island boards, they give you more island boards. There's some interesting islands here. Devil's Passage allows you to have 2 forts built on it. Each fort's worth 2 coins at the end of the game, and each one will drop 5 cubes in battle. Murderer's Rock, the island may have 2 garrisons or the cannons built on it. Each one is worth 2 points at the end of the game. Each cannon will drop 2 cubes in battle. Each will deal a damage. As somebody goes into that island, it'll give 2 extra damage. Golden Shores, the island may have 2 outposts built on it. Similar flavor to Devil's Passage. The Beacon, I really like the idea of. This island will allow a player to level up 1 card in their hand. That is pretty cool. And Swift Seas, this ocean board doesn't require a sail to actually move out of. Gives you a free movement. It's fine. I think island boards are cool. They're a nice little addition to kind of spice up the game. I will say the ones that I've added in for the game so far, I don't realize when there's a new one out there. So, are they incredibly impactful on the game? Not really. Is it a little more spice to it and a little more variability? Sure. All right, so now we get into the spicy stuff. The ship boards, they are asymmetric. You may hear the word asymmetric and be totally turned off or completely interested. One of my hopes in going into this expansion was the asymmetry was more similar to Expedition Leaders and Lost Ruins of Arnak. That might be a good or bad thing for you. Your mileage may vary there, but it certainly isn't. It gives you an extra upgrade spot. So instead of 4, now there's 5 upgrades, and it's just new starting symbols. If you haven't played the game, those symbols interact with your actions. They allow you to do more stuff as long as you're not storing things on that space. So they have to be wide open to even be used. I think what limits this being kind of a game-changing alteration, the idea around your ship is to upgrade it. As soon as you upgrade it, you're covering up many of those symbols there. So unless I'm missing something here, it looks, fairly benign. I think there's always some symbols that are always uncovered. Those might be different as well, but I can't see all of the boards. They're each double-sided, so maybe there is some interesting stuff in there. I was just hoping there'd be some sort of a text ability, really an asymmetric direction to your game that may change the way you play it. It doesn't look to be that here. So once again, I don't think it's very game-changing. The next thing is exploding cannon cubes. So when you land on an exploding spot on the ocean board, as you kind of roll your cubes out, you get to re-roll that cube along with another cube. Now they are actually on cubes that you can now earn and throw in during a battle. And if they land on their exploding side, you essentially get to do the same exact thing. If they land on their exploding side and they land on an exploding spot, you get to roll 2 extra cubes on top of the original cubes. So I think that's pretty cool. A nice little wrinkle. They interact with a new symbol, a new ship upgrade. Certainly some of the new cards will be giving this new exploding shot cannon symbol. So I think it's a fun addition. Is it game changing? I don't know. I'd have to play with it, but it's fun either way. I like it. Really the biggest feature here, and the thing you're probably paying the most for in this, are the 48 new sailor cards. What that amounts to is 12 per player. So basically you're replacing all of your crew cards, your sailor cards, with these new versions. My big question is, do they make some of the uninteresting ones, and I guess that's a subjective take, more interesting for me? Let's dive into each card and see what those differences are, because that may make or break it for me here. So what the crew card basically does is instead of the crew repairing your ship, it now can build buildings. The deckhand, instead of spreading influence on islands, now repairs your ship. First mate used to build buildings, now it spreads influence and has these little wheel icons that interact with other upgrades to your card. Gunner used to gun, it still guns. The difference is this is the card that has the new symbols, especially upgraded to level 4. Looks like you'll get 2 of those exploding shot cubes to roll. Buccaneer used to influence islands. Now it battles and produces on islands. This looks to be one of the first ones that seems to have a kind of an interesting, different mix. Regardless, it's mostly a swapped ability, just like all of the others so far. Bosun used to upgrade your ship with those aforementioned wheel symbols that interact with things. That's gone. It still upgrades ship, but it also repairs a ship, which kind of thematically makes a lot of sense. But regardless, a lot like what it used to do. Purser used to just basically produce goods. Now the Purser produces goods on islands. It does a little bit of influencing, and it can be used to upgrade a ship. So Captain used to be a mix of sailing, the pirate ship flag symbols, which allow you to initiate battle, those wheel symbols, which we've already kind of mentioned, synergized with some other upgrades. There was some ability in winning battles and getting some extra money. And then finally in level 4, you also get a cannon symbol. So now it doesn't have the sail symbol. It just has a gain a barrel symbol. It still has the wheels. It has more battle, less of an ability to start attacks. That went back onto the Buccaneer, which we had already mentioned. Its level 4 has a pretty interesting battle ability. Remove 1 to 4 cubes from the plunder zone. You may redrop any number of them. So if you're getting a bunch of stuff and you really just want to win the battle, it allows you to redrop. I actually really like that addition overall on the captain card. But that's it. That is all of the cards. Oh, I really wish I could say that these were game-changing cards. They're not. I really don't think they are. I think a lot of them just swapped abilities around, gave you some slightly different combinations. Some straight up were just give you some more flexibility, which I enjoy. I really like the battle ability on the captain. But is it going to change the game fundamentally and justify spending the money on this? Not by itself, it's not. Unfortunately. I wish I could say it did, but it's just not. At least on the outset, I guess I would have to play with it, take that for what it's worth. I haven't actually played with this stuff. The cards seem like we're swapping abilities. I like the exploding cannon cubes. The ocean boards are, I haven't noticed with the current ones, at least, that they make a huge difference. They do give you some new tactical experiences. I'm definitely disappointed in the shipboards that I can see. There might be some stuff hidden in there. I don't know. I like the extra upgrade tiles for the new exploding cannon symbol. That's great. Achievement tokens, I'm neutral to favorable on. I like the idea of those being in there, but that's it. That's $45. I guess the main question to me here is it worth the $45 to get this expansion? Does it add enough variability for me? Just my knee-jerk reaction, reading the rule book, looking at what all of this stuff does? No. And I would say overall, the type of asymmetry was a disappointment for me on the ships, and the lackluster card differences, really just shuffling things around and not necessarily making them more interesting, which, by the way, Sea Dogs is how you actually do that. They already exist, and if you watch my original video, you know that is what I highly recommend, is definitely getting the Sea Dogs. The bang for your buck there relative to what it adds to the game is absolutely huge. Are you getting that here with Port of Call? I don't think so. Now, the tough part for me here is I'm a bit of a completionist, and if I have everything else, why wouldn't I just get Port of Call? It's like that sunk cost fallacy, right? I probably shouldn't. Will I? I don't know. The bigger question to me is that freaking box. This thing. What is it called? The Captain's Chest. Oh, AEG, why did you have to get so insane with this thing? Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm sure a lot of people are backing it. In fact, let's look right now. 831 people have backed the $189 tier that gives you the chest and the new expansion. Is there a need? Well, first of all, do I want this box? Hell yeah, I want this box. Can I afford it? Probably not. And I guess that's what it comes down to for you is, do you have a bunch of disposable income and absolutely love this game? I would get it. I would have been so much happier, though, if it was just a cardboard big box solution that had game trays in it. I would have paid, 30 or $40 even for a cardboard box to house this game. Instead, I'm going to deal with all of the other little boxes, and I'm probably not going to pull the trigger on what I think is a very nice thing. And by the way, I'm the customer for that. I've got the Trove chest behind me for Too Many Bones. That is certainly an inspiration for this box. For what this game is, it's pretty insanely expensive. I mean, all in at this point is $549. And for that, I would expect it to be a lifestyle type game, one in which you're always kind of bringing out and exploring, and that could be yours. It's just not for me. I mean, it's a great game and I like it a lot, but I'm not bringing it out more than maybe a few times a year at this point and getting a couple plays in. I will say that $549, you get the mat and all the upgraded stuff. I have the coins, by the way, which are magnificent. Are they worth $40? Probably not. The mat is pretty good. I think the mat is a little bit thin compared to some other mats that I have, but it fits the bill and it's a nice little organization table presence thing here. I would have, by the way, really liked to seen an upgraded dice tower ship. I think it's kind of fallen apart on me a little bit, and the bottom like ocean tray that all the cubes roll out onto never really like stays together, and the boat's always kind of shaking around. I would have really loved to have an upgraded component there. I probably would have pulled the trigger on that. In conclusion, this expansion, I certainly wouldn't mind having it, and I certainly would use it. Is it worth $45 for me? Probably not. Would I like the box? Yes. Do I want to spend $189 to get this stuff? No, I do not. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you being here. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you backed this? Are you thinking about backing this? Have you played this? For the veterans out there that have played this game, do you think this is worth it? I would love to hear from you, because the idea of value is something different for every single person. You have to make that choice yourself. I know the content is good and the game is good, but I'd love your ideas on the perceived value in this campaign. And with all of that said, thanks for being here. Have a great week.